For this tutorial we're going to paint a really nice dwarf. It's got really clean lines. I've based him. I like to base him, gives you something to get a hold of. Just stuck him on a penny, and I've cleaned off all the flash. There wasn't much on this figure. Flash is the little bits of metal that get left over from the moulding. I'm going to use a very small brush. This is a foundry brush and I really like it. It's 00, and I'm going to use foundry paints as well because they're my personal favourites. I'm going to use the flesh first. I like to get a face on my figures, gives them a little bit of character. I've given the paint a shake, and I use the paint that's in the lid. Just saves getting paint all over the brush and then you get it all over your fingers. Foundry come in 3 pots, so you get a nice dark one, which is the one I'm using at the moment, and then you get a slightly lighter one, a mid-tone, and then you get a lovely light colour to do your highlights. An article in Wargames Illustrated years ago, and it said that if you paint your characters' faces first, it tells you a little bit about them, and that informs the sort of colours they might wear. And I like that idea. I don't know if it's true, but it's a nice story. I don't worry too much at this stage about smudging, because I'm going to go over with so many colours that I can hide all my mistakes, and that adds to the character. And also, I've not undercoated this figure. Now some people advocate undercoating in white, some like to undercoat in black, but because foundry paints you're using 3 different levels of paint, I treat this dark coat as the undercoat, and you'll see there I've smudged on his hood. Really don't mind, because I'm going to go over that later on, so it isn't anything to worry about. I'm going to do his hood next, and because I want to give him ginger hair, I want something that's going to make that stand out. And I remember that in The Hobbit, one of the dwarfs has got a blue hood, so I'm going for blue. I'm going for sky blue. I do know that some people say that foundry paints are a bit on the expensive side, but to be honest, they last for years. Really last for years, and you get such an amazing result that it is worth at least adding a few to your collection of whatever favourite paint you want. I'm not saying that because I'm being sponsored. I'm saying that because over the years, as a wargamer and as a figure painter, I've come to find that they're the ones I really enjoy working with. They give a lovely finish. But you can mix and match. All your figures can be made with so many different colours of paint and types of paint. I'm a big fan of finding cheap bargains if I can. So this is the shade, and it's going all over. Get that hood completely covered in blue shade. Just keep turning him round. I apologise if there are times when you can't quite see what I'm doing, but I'll turn him round at the end. And I've covered every bit, even the bits you're not going to see underneath, because you need to make sure that all the figure's painted. Just a more professional finish. And I think I've covered it all. Oh no, I've missed right on the very top. There's a message for us all. You've done and you haven't. There we are. I'm going to wash my brush, wipe it off on some absorbent paper, which I always keep nearby. And that's the first coat of his hood. Doing his hair next, I'm going to make him a redhead, just because it's good fun. Shake up the paint and use the lid. It's nice to find different ways of doing hair, and it gives your figure a little bit more character. And I quite like the thought of this chap having a big ginger beard. You can't see his hair, you can only see his beard. So That'll be quite a striking feature when he's finished. And that's really it. There we go. Hair finished. Just turn him for you to see. There he goes. You might think when you look at the hair and the flesh that they're the same colour, and they almost are. And often with these foundry shades you find that the difference between them at this point is really narrow. There's hardly any difference, but the difference has become more pronounced as you go on. And I'm painting his jacket, and I'm painting his jacket green because green complements the blue nicely, and it's a good strong contrast against the orange that I've used for his beard. And as you can see, I've gone right down to the bottom. I've covered his belt and everything there. I've not left them silver. I can go back over those. And that's his tunic, a nice dark green. I'm going to do his sleeves now. And I'm going to do them a colour called Madder Red. It's a really nice colour, is Madder Red. It's good for lips. If you use scarlet for lips, they appear to have gone a bit transgender, as if they're cross-dressing and wearing blues lipstick. But Madder Red's a great colour, and this is a hill dwarf, and he's definitely a fighter. He's not a guard, he's not some fancy Dan with a big hat. This lad earns his living with his axe, and he knows what he's doing. So I want him to have good earthy colours that are robust and the sorts of things that you'd wear if you were wandering around the wilderness. And I like to give him sleeves that are a different colour to the rest of his tunic to add some interest. And there we go. Bit of Madder Red for his sleeves. Trousers now, and I'm gonna, having said that he's a tough, robust, wearing no nonsense clothing warrior, because I want a bit of interest in this figure, I'm going to give him trousers that have legs of 2 different colours. So that just goes against everything I said before, but as I've been painting him, I've just been thinking it'd be quite fun to have a pair of trousers with one bright yellow leg and one bright red leg. So there he is with one yellow trouser leg. I'll do his other trouser leg now. I'm using scarlet for this, and the dark colour you get for scarlet when it comes out is really dark. But scarlet is one of those colours that it really sings when you start to get onto the other 2 colours. When you clean your brush, you need to be certain. You see what's happening there? I'm juggling. You've got to be really certain that you wipe off all the water, because if you get too wet, you put paintbrush on your figure and you end up with horrible runny paint going absolutely everywhere. That was a bit fiddly because I'm trying to hold it for the camera, so I hope you don't mind. But there you go, one yellow leg, one red leg. I'm doing his brown leather now. Brown leather it's a really nice colour that Foundry do, but for some reason I absolutely hate painting brown leather. I hate painting brown leather and I hate painting black, and there's no logical reason for it. I don't know, perhaps you've got a favourite colour or a least favourite colour, but there's something about it that really does my head in. I'm doing his boots brown. You've got to be careful on figures, especially figures where the modelling is as defined as this. It's lovely to paint, and then you get a position where the trousers go into the boots and it's hard to know where the trousers end and the boots begin. I think you just got to make an educated guess, really. You might have noticed behind the model I've got all my paint lined up, and again that's just a technique I use. I get all the paints out, the shade, the medium and the light. I put them in a long line in order. As I use them I put them away, and gradually I can see that I'm making some progress. Painting one figure's okay, but generally we paint more than one, don't we, as modelers? I'm going to have to move my arm over there now. And this technique lends itself nicely to painting multiple figures. You paint all the leather on one chap and then one on another. By the time you get back to the beginning, he's dry. And you'll also notice I'm not leaving a long time between painting each colour. That's because another advantage of foundry paint is it dries really quickly. Now I've got two little more bits of leather. He's got a little bag there. Medieval times they called it a scrip. I'm just going to paint that brown leather, trying not to get my arm in the way so you can't see what I'm doing. Paint it around the sides, and although I've painted over it with the tunic green, he is wearing a belt, and the advantage of this really nice thin brush is that it will pick out the belt really easily. I'm going to run across. I've actually smudged onto the tunic, but again, once I get to the next stage I'll be able to hide all that. So that's all the brown leather. I'm going to paint the weapon now, and I'm using a colour that's called spear shaft. I've painted his weapon with spear shaft. If you smudge at this point, it really doesn't matter, because the next stage is going to hide any mistake you make, so don't worry. I'm going to do the axe head now, which I'm going to do with deep copper. Some people at this point would use black, but I like to use deep copper. And this is the first video of 3. In the next video I'll do the same figure, and I'll be going over with the lighter colours to show you how that develops.